Hi again, everybody. Scott Costa, the publisher of TED Magazine. Thanks for joining me for another video and audio Distributed with TED Magazine podcast. We do a lot of podcasts about the what. For all you journalists who do the 5 W's and the H, we do a lot of podcasts about dark sky. We do podcasts about the economy. We do podcasts about the impact of COVID, the what stuff. And those are great topics. And I'm glad that we're able to, get into those things. But this is a who podcast that I'm really thrilled that I had the opportunity to do this. Stacy Cook joined me. Stacy's a national strategic account manager for Graybar, which is professionally, she probably does a fantastic job. We didn't get into what she's doing and how she's selling stuff and whatever it is that she's doing these days. We got into what she's doing when it comes to diversity and inclusion and what she did when she's had one conversation. And that led to her starting a massive nationwide group of empowering women and diversity, and just hearing her story and how she built something from the grassroots to something really huge. It's just an incredible story. And I'm thrilled that I had the opportunity to talk to her and hear her story and share it with all of you. And she gave obviously ways that, you can contact her so that you can become a part of her group. And this one's worth a view. This one's worth a listen. So I hope you enjoy it. This is Stacy Cook on the Distributed with TED Magazine podcast. Hello to Stacy Cook, who is a national strategic account member for Graybar. We do a lot of these podcasts, that are about topics. I'm excited that I'm going to do a podcast about a person, and that's you. And thanks so much for joining me on the Distributed with TED Magazine podcast. It's great to have you on.
Thank you. My pleasure. I'm excited to be here, Scott.
Not as excited, or trust me, as honored as I am to have you come on. So you have a great story, and I'm excited that we're going to get to it. We have talked about diversity and inclusion quite a bit for quite a bit of time, but your story on diversity and inclusion is really incredible. Take me back. I know that we talked before we hit the record button for it. Take me back to how you kind of said, you know what, I'm going to start up my own group, and what you did to kind of get what you're doing started in the first place.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I was working in a remote territory. I was working for Rockwell Automation in a remote territory, and it was probably the number one most remote area in the U.S. And I moved there from the United States, from Charlotte. I volunteered for that, by the way. And I was invited by my manager to go to the NAED Women in Industry event that summer, and I was blown away, Scott. I was absolutely.
It's a great event, isn't it? I mean, it's so awesome. Yeah,
it's fantastic, and I felt so connected and so empowered and moved. I mean, there's just no doubt about it, and so that's how it started. And
then you started talking to people though and said, hey, you know what, we could do even more than this. So get it from that grassroots level, sort of how you said, you know what, maybe we can do more than this.
Yeah, well, it was really good timing for me because I actually had just spent a little bit of time feeling sorry for myself that I was in this remote territory. And, and then I started thinking about that lady that's really isolated in Poland or wherever. And that, she really doesn't have the ability to do what we do as an embedded engineer, meaning she's in a customer's facility and she can't get out. She can't get on the phone. I mean, she's just by herself.
Yeah.
Right? And that's kind of how I was seeing myself, as there's me and one other resource only. And then when I went here and I was with all of these women and all of these people, it was just amazing. So I left there and I started to really think about, what I could do, and that I did have the resources and the energy and the ability to start something. And I started talking to some people there, and Kathy Mazzarella, who was the Trailblazer, I believe she won the Trailblazer Award that year, I think. And I was talking to her, and I was just kind of mentioning what I was thinking about, and I wasn't even thinking at the time on the same page. It was a little bit unrelated, but then she just looked at me and she said, you know what? That's amazing. Why don't you start that with some of these women here? And that's all it took. And then I moved out of myself and I started thinking about other people. And to be honest, when I started thinking about how we could impact, or I could potentially impact other women, that's just when it took off.
And so the result is the Women in Industry Networking Group, which is great, because again, and I'm not, it's again, great reviews when it comes to the NEAD Women in Industry events, but there's only a couple of those a year. So
right.
What does the networking group do throughout the year? That's the first question. I'm going to follow it up in a second, but tell me what they're doing throughout the year to obviously keep folks engaged.
Absolutely. So we've gone through a transition, because at first it was just me, right? And then about a year into it, I decided, you know what? I really would benefit from a steering committee, and to have, women that wanted to participate. And then it started to become a steering committee decision, what content we talked about. And, we originally started just having almost like roundtable discussions. And then we started to talk about topic specific things. And then Kathy Jo Van, she wanted to turn it into a book club. So we tried that, but she was the only one that would read anything. So that didn't, the rest of us are all audio listening as we're going down the road, right? But she reads like a million books, as does Kathy Mazzarella. Got her book list, and we're like, yeah, we've got all these books. So that didn't work for too long. And then we moved to where we are now, where we have a very structured monthly meeting, and we meet the third Monday of every month at noon Central Time. And we have lots of different discussions, different topics. Like this month, for instance, Jan Ruth, who is the COO of Electroflex, she is part of the steering committee, and she is doing a DISC assessment, and she's bringing in a consultant that's helping to do this. We have my current steering committee members are just phenomenal, and so I'm so blessed to have even access to these people. But she's bringing in this assessment consultant to do the assessment, and so that's what we're doing this month. And some advantages of that are professional development,
right?
Leadership skills. I mean, there's so many things. And I'll tell you what we're doing next month too, just for a little sneak preview. So
go ahead. I got so many follow-ups already. You're great. But yeah, what's next week? Go ahead and tell me.
The next month we're doing, Kathy Jo Van is going to lead us, because she's our executive sponsor this year. Kathy Mazzarella was our executive sponsor last year, and Kathy Jo is this year. And she's going to do a session on being a team member to a team leader. Right.
Okay. So great. So a couple of great things coming up. And I think let me follow that up with a couple of things. First thing I want to follow it up with is this. You started this with a conversation with Kathy. And this is why I'm so wildly impressed with this whole thing, and you and everything else. You started this with a conversation with Kathy Mazzarella. And now we're talking about steering committees, and you're talking about, you have people working, like this became, hey, two people are having a conversation it's just crazy. So give me an idea who else is a part of your group. You have like marketing people, and you have communications people, and you have, tell me kind of how just so people don't think, oh, it's just another diversity group. This is like a major operation now. So tell me the stuff that you're doing to kind of keep this thing functioning every month.
It really is. It's amazing that we've gotten to the point where we are now. And I will share that although Stacy Felser, she is not on our steering committee anymore, this wouldn't have been possible without her. I mean, she was hands down the whole way helping me. And she was the president at the time, if that's even the right terminology. I think that's the right terminology of the NAED Women in Industry of that year.
She was certainly on the committee, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I went up to her and asked her, hey, do you want to participate? And she did. So this is so much has to do with her and Kathy Jo Van, Autumn Pearson. So Stacy and Kathy Jo, they both own their own marketing companies now. And Autumn is with Graybar. Michelle Peacock, she is a VP at Advance. She's oh my goodness, she helps with so much with all the content. We've got Desiree Grace, who is VP with Panduit.
She's a regular on the podcast too.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. She's phenomenal.
Yes.
And Jan Ruth and Desiree and Jan, they've started something new this year with a mentoring committee. And it's really called situational mentorship. And so it's almost like, as opposed to an ongoing mentorship relationship, it's just having a situation. And then, interestingly enough, Leslie Malloy, who is one of my favorite people in the world, she's a director at Wesco,
right?
And who is normally in Strat Accounts, where I am, is normally my #1 competitor. And she's like my favorite person, right? So I just adore her. And we've got 3 new Wesco people. And then this sums it up with 3 new Wesco people that are doing marketing, website, and and Jennifer Branch. That's the last one. Jennifer Branch.
Don't leave people out.
That's it. That I'm pretty sure that Kathleen, Kendall, and Tori from Wesco are the new marketing, website, and also newsletter.
So the great thing about this is, again, with all of these people, and there's a lot of great things, actually, the more I'm thinking about it. One, again, like you said, we have competitors working together to, again, better the industry and certainly, make diversity and inclusion, get up to the forefront of what's going on. But in addition to that, this isn't some kind of, fly-by-night group of, 18 women who are just, this is like, if you want to join, this is going to be this is already established, and it's going to be around for a long time. So how can folks get engaged? Like, how can they become a part of this? How can they, whatever, be at every meeting every month? What's the best way to kind of be involved if they want to? Yeah. Well,
thanks for asking, Scott. Of course, we don't want everyone contacting you, but you do have
permission. They can if they want. It's okay. I'll pass them along.
Give my contact information away. I'm completely okay with that. But the easiest way is probably to find me on LinkedIn, #1. And also, if you will look up Women in Industry Networking Group on LinkedIn, then we have a whole group. It's just for us. There's over 100 members right now. And so it's a closed group, and you could find us there. So those are the 2 best ways to find me.
Sure. And it's for all women though, correct? Within the supply chain, or how does that work?
So that's another really great question, because we've gone back and forth about this. And so currently it's for all women that are connected in any way to an electrical distributor. So that's manufacturing, that's electrical distribution. We've got a couple system integrators. And I've been overruled at this point, even though I'm the president. I've been overruled, which is what happens when you get a steering committee, right? I wanted to invite some of our customers, but we're not at that point yet. So I had to step back and say, okay, this is what everyone else wants, and it's been a great experience for me.
So how did you hold yourself together, over the past year without, I'm sure you were doing virtual meetings anyway before, obviously, the pandemic moved in, but, how were you able to make sure that everybody was okay and able to attend your monthly events or whatever, just to kind of, reassure folks that everything's going to be okay?
Yeah. So one of the very first, I haven't thought about this in a while, since we've been in this pandemic for so long, but actually one of our very first meetings, we rescheduled that one for later in the year. And we had a whole, maybe even 2 months. We talked about the pandemic and isolation and how to continue to be noticed and seen, and how to even work in this virtual world. And we shared lots of best practices and tools of how to continue to work, so it was a real challenge for some people.
Sure. I can imagine. Okay. So this is, we've gone through the nuts and bolts now, which is great. And I think it's important information that we get out there, but there's now sort of an emotional side to it now that I think we have to get into. And I got to ask you, Stacy, then, what has this whole thing meant to you? How have you kind of embraced this and said, I have changed because of the incredible people that I've met. What has this whole thing meant to what you are, who you are, and what you're doing?
Absolutely. So it's really hard. I'm trying not to cry.
I tell you what, if you make me cry, it's going to get ugly. So please hold it together if you can.
Oh, yes. So it's really been amazing. I mean, I get Christmas cards from these ladies.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I'll share that. Although we certainly don't promote looking for new careers and things like that within our group, because a lot of companies wouldn't want their employees necessarily, right. So no poaching. We're not doing that intentionally. But when I did leave Rockwell and come to Graybar, I mean, I came to these ladies. I had, you wouldn't believe the references that I was able to get and how they helped me and prepared me. And I ended up with several offers, which I've never had in my entire life, as a result of networking and just being completely vulnerable. And I'll tell you, I've been through a lot in the last 6 months personally, and I've had death that I've walked through with these ladies. I had a lot of bad health news that I've had. Yeah. I've had a double mastectomy. I've had a lot of challenges, and these ladies have been there the whole time for me, the whole time. It's been amazing.
And they're going to stick with you too.
They are.
I mean, this isn't like, and the thing is, they're going to be there for the next person. And again, we talked briefly about last year in the pandemic, and I'm glad you look great. I'm glad you're doing well, which is fantastic. But strength in numbers, don't you think? I mean,
absolutely. And you know what? And I found out that there's another lady who's a CEO. I'm not going to say who because she didn't give me permission, but another CEO of a very large company. She went through the same thing, and it's like you find out so much more about each other. And at the end of the day, we're just people, right? We're just people. And to be able to be my true, authentic self, I don't have a lot of places that I can 100% be my true, authentic self and not feel judged, not feel like I'm being compared or criticized or anything that sometimes our minds tell us those kinds of things sometimes. And here I'm able to be myself.
Yeah. And that really gives you the opportunity to just share so many ideas and thoughts openly without having to worry about. And that's where progress really begins. That's what makes this so impressive.
Yeah. And you know what? Another thing is that I was already part of a phenomenal ERG. Okay. Employee resource.
Yeah.
Okay. And a phenomenal one. Amazing. But this fit another part where I felt like I could almost be more authentic because I wasn't worried about my manager being in the room or, something like that. So I just wanted to share, it's really fit a hole that there was nothing else filling it.
Yeah. And I said at the beginning that I'm wildly impressed by you. I'm even more impressed because we got a chance to talk. So, thanks for doing this. A reminder that if you want to get in touch with Stacy, find you on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. Find me on LinkedIn. I mean, I can give my contact information here. Do you think?
Yeah, if you want to, go ahead. Absolutely. I think it's important. Yeah.
Okay. Well, my phone number is 704-361-2755. And my email address is Stacy, Stacy, Cook, COOK, WII for women in industry @gmail.com.
There you go. So again, this group isn't going away anytime soon.
No.
So, if you really want to do something for the long haul, if you really want to be a part of a diversity and inclusion group that spans North America, this is your opportunity to get in touch with Stacy and go ahead and do it and know that, a lot of women are going to be looking out for each other for a long time. So, Stacy, I can't thank you enough for starting this and sharing your story with me and sharing everything with us. I mean, you're just great. I'm really happy to get a chance to meet you virtually. Hopefully we're going to meet, in person soon.
Yeah.
Kind of go
Hey,
from there.
Scott, would you let me tell you what the mission statement is really quickly?
Absolutely. Yeah, go ahead.
One of the most important things is to me, so our mission statement is to connect, inspire, and advance the professional development of women in industry in an authentic community to make a difference. So everything we do goes back to that mission statement. So it's going to be all around, professional development and leadership and education and things like that.
That's great. And it's a great group. And again, I know Kathy Jo, I know Stacy, now I know you. And so I know that it's run by, a lot of great people. So thank you for sharing all of that with us. Again, this week we're recording it the week of International Women's Day. And so
I know, yes. I'm very excited about that. Yes.
Yes. And I'm excited that you got a chance to share this with us. So thank you. Hold tight. Quick thing. Again, if folks do want to get more information about this and for whatever reason they miss your phone number or whatever, they can always contact me. My phone number, answer my phone. You might have heard it ringing earlier during the podcast. So I'm going to call somebody back here as soon as we get done recording. But you can call me 314-812-5311. Phone call. You can send me an email, scosta, SCOSTA at NEAD.org. Again, I'll be happy to pass out the information about this women in industry group that Stacy, that you've again started from a 2-person conversation to where it is today. It is an amazing story. It's great to tell stories about people sometimes, and I'm thankful that you shared yours with us. So appreciate it. Thanks for joining me. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks everybody for watching the Distributed with TED Magazine podcast.